Welcome to the Sustainable Clinical Medicine podcast. I am your host, Sarah Smith. I am a practicing rural family physician and the charting coach. This is the podcast for physicians and advanced practice providers who are ready to step back from the busyness of their clinical day to share ideas, question everything, and redesign their clinical day. We are redesigning clinical medicine to create sustainable clinical days and create time for our lives outside of medicine. Join us for discussions with world experts who are helping design sustainable models of clinical medicine and the physicians or clinicians who have discovered or designed sustainable models of clinical medicine for themselves. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We have another episode for you. Today, we're bringing you Dr. Annie DePasquale, who's going to tell us about some of the things she's doing in regards to matchmaking in medicine, which is super fun. And we'll find out more about that in a bit, but I'll let you introduce yourself. Welcome.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me. I'm a family doc down right outside Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia. I run a company called Collaborating Docs, which I know we'll talk about later. But yes, for about a decade, I've been practicing family practice, general scope of, all ages, mostly in the inner city, in DC, underserved clinic, federally qualified health center system. I did leave a few years ago, but I was there for a long time after residency. And I have 4 little kids and life is busy.
Yeah. Wow. 4 little kids, life would be busy as a family doctor. Interesting. Is that what you had always wanted to do?
Honestly, no. In school growing up, I was very into music. I studied piano quite seriously, and I ended up studying piano in college. Yeah. So I was a performance major, very different than medicine. This did not really get on my radar till I graduated and saw life as a professional musician is a little bleak at times. I mean, you do your passion, but it doesn't give you health insurance or a good payday. So I started volunteering in a local clinic and a local hospital. And I thought, wow, I was just fascinated. I knew no one in medicine. I knew no one in nursing. I knew nothing about it. And I thought it really did catch me, but a bit alternative. I know most people, it's like from day kindergarten on, they know they want to be a doctor. I definitely did not know that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So the journey through medicine, then you already had a skill set and you had been making money through that. And then you decided on medicine, which is not a 5-minute degree by any stretch. How was it as this mature learner, I guess?
It comes with its challenges, although I do think having a little life experience under your belt doesn't hurt in other ways. But I was teaching music at an elementary school in Baltimore, Maryland, and taking night classes at the local college. I took summer classes when I wasn't teaching, and I just had to catch up over a couple of year period with all the prerequisite classes, studying for the MCATs, and even just applying takes a long time. So it was, a bit of a process. But, a lot of medical schools nowadays, they do like people who've done a little something different to bring to the table. So I think I'm quite sure it did help strengthen my application, because my scores, my grades were not the best. In fact, I got a C in organic chemistry, I will admit out loud. And my advisor said, you can't apply like that. And I said, well, I really have no choice. That's the grade I got. And here we are. And it all worked out. So no one, if someone is telling you can't do it, I'm proof you can even get a C in organic chemistry.
I'm just thankful organic chemistry was after I got into med school, because I'm not sure that I passed. Certainly wouldn't have been with a good grade.
And it's funny because do we use it on a daily basis? Not at all, but I know it's just one of those hoops we all jump through to get to the end goal. But
yes,
I'm an advocate for, couldn't it be like a foreign language or something a little more useful that shows we can learn things complicated?
Yeah.
Someday, maybe.
So interesting. All right. So tell us about then, as you became a resident and then into your attending years, what sort of things did you notice? Because you've obviously been employed previously, working previously, and now you're in this new model. What were the differences? What did you notice?
Well, I went right into this federally qualified health center, little teeny tiny clinic to start, where we were part of a little strip mall in a very low income community. So there was, the Chinese restaurant, and I forget all the different things, an alcohol store,
Yeah.
perfect for family medicine. Two things, not the healthiest, right next door. Donuts, Dunkin' Donuts. But anyway, I I feel like medicine is interesting that it's sort of course, if you're in a system,
Yeah.
there is hierarchy and a boss and an ultimate boss above them and guidelines, policies, all that. But I do feel like it was very nice compared to teaching, where I did feel a lot more independent, like at least with my own patients, I could kind of call the shots and do what I knew was right for them and be independent in my thought process for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. So I think it felt very liberating coming from, I was in a very strict school where, you were constantly being observed and graded. And maybe because I was a newer teacher too, I was just more under the microscope. So it was actually kind of nice to be sort of set free and able to do what I trained a long time to do and jump
Yeah.
into it. Obviously not without its hardships, but yeah, it is a different atmosphere than like a school system, I would say,
Yeah.
for me at
Yeah.
least.
Interesting, because what you're describing more autonomy in this position, whereas we hear a lot of physicians and clinicians saying they feel suffocated by and they don't have a lot of autonomy in family medicine in an employed position within some of these systems. So very interesting take on it, coming from that background in a primary school doing music teaching.
Right. I mean, maybe you're right. I hear that complaint from my colleagues quite often too, that I guess it's all what you're comparing to
Mm-hmm.
what you did prior. We have a great new nanny right now to change. I'm not trying to change the topic, but she's wonderful with our young children, and it's very hard with four little ones, and it's always chaos. And she's coming from like a behavioral center with children with terrible, like, violent behavior towards her. So it's a walk in the park compared to that. So I guess it's all like what you're coming from to compare to, but
Yeah,
I digress.
that's right. That perspective is so fascinating. All right. So now tell us about family medicine. So you're in this system, you're working family medicine. Is it all going swimmingly well? Like, tell us about your day as it appeared as you started.
As it appeared, I actually loved working in the clinic system I was in. It's like it was a catch-all for the whole city. There were about 20, 25 clinics, some small, some large, and they actually had me over time convert from a very tiny one to a mid-size to a very large one. And I also rotated through the DC jail. They did the healthcare for the jail there, so part-time there. So I think that's the beauty of family medicine, just getting your experiences in lots of different settings, and all of them brought very different sort of scenarios. But my patients, I loved. So I think, having a really nice patient panel of people who, really do actually listen for the most part and try to take your advice and try to do the right thing, and they're not second guessing every little thing you suggest. Quite different than I moonlighted somewhat at an urgent care in the suburbs. I did some wound care also in like the suburban area. And that was the polar opposite. Everyone knew better than me. Everyone was Dr. Google. Everyone demanded, I need my antibiotic now. I know we all know the scenarios. So I got fortunate that my placement and where I worked for a long time, I felt like I was able to actually practice medicine without a lot of second guessing of my patient. So that, and saw good results. Like they got A1C got better and their blood pressure got better and things. So that part I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Okay. Was the clinical day confined to clinical hours, or was there spillage into your evenings, weekends? What was happening there?
The scheduling was pretty flexible. They
Mm-hmm.
primarily would allow you to work daytime if that's what you wanted to do, which I did with young children. But you could pick up extra shifts in the evening for extra money, which I also did sometimes, just saving for various things. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. If you wanted to keep it with 40 hours during Monday to Friday, it's fine, but you pick up weekend evening shifts if you so desired. I went to a specific homeless clinic fairly often in the evening, and people who lived there could just come and get care. And usually they wanted simple things like a quick refill or, the lotion for their rash or something. So it was like very low acuity and pretty relaxed. So it's good when you have those options, I think, like flexibility, certainly.
Yeah. Flexibility and variety. It sounds like you had a good mix of different places that you could do a lot of those things, spread yourself and do the full range that you're interested in.
I'm grateful for that. Yeah, I saw a lot of interesting pathology, but also a lot of bread and butter, normal things and everything in between. So, and even the moonlighting in the suburbs brought a whole new variety of issues and problems and things I wasn't seeing. So, yeah, I did enjoy. I just took my 10-year board exam renewal certification, and I was going through it thinking like, oh, great, this is from when I did the wound care. I remember. And then, oh, this was at the urgent care. We always had, ticks that we had to deal with and Lyme disease. And, so it was just, kind of funny to pick up on the different parts of my past clinical sites had different special, things they happened to focus on. So that kind of played to my benefit. I feel bad if you recertify and you're like in a narrow niche. I'm sure it's very challenging.
Yeah. Tell us about doing family medicine with 4 young kids. Like that sounds like it's going to take a bit of work to choreograph.
Yes. Some days I don't know what we were thinking, but no, we love every minute of our home life. But yes, I think the working mom, juggling it all, finding who can pick the kids up if you're running late, who can, get them all to school. Right now we have 3 different schools. It is a disaster. So pickups, different places, different times, or I'm just at work and can't do any of it. So it's definitely you need your what do they say, your community, your safety net. My family medicine mentor when I was a resident had 2 young children at the time, and I wasn't even married yet. And she said, Annie, when this day comes, you need a backup to the backup to the backup babysitter. I'm just telling you now. And those were the truest words to live by. So we have a lot of people on speed dial if something happens.
Got it.
Which it always does.
Interesting. Okay, so tell us then about this matchmaking piece. Tell us more. What's going on there?
Sure. I kind of fell into it because I was at this clinic system in Washington, D.C., and not making the most money. You can work many other places as a family doctor and make more money. And I have all these children. So I was looking for avenues to supplement my income. And I kind of fell into looking on Indeed.com. I noticed nurse practitioners would post, I need a collaborating physician. I need a medical director. Can you help me? And so I dug into that, learned a bit about that, and started to help a few people. And I really loved it. Back to my teaching days. Like I do love teaching, mentoring, coaching. So it kind of was a cross between the 2 things I had done, and I loved it. Getting to know nurse practitioners on like a very personal level, what are their strengths and weaknesses? How can I help them? Like answering their questions, just being helpful to them. And then doing it, I learned very, very quickly. So many were giving me the feedback like, this is so great. I've been looking for years for a doctor. No one wanted to ever help me, or like, you're very normal and nice. And I pick up my phone call. Like my other doctor never called me back or would take my call. So this is great. You're not overcharging me. And, I can afford to do this. So one summer, I guess it was the summer of 2020, so many people were contacting me like crazy, like one a day, just day after day after day. Can you help me? Can you help my friend? Can you help my other friend? She needs one. She needs a collaborator. I thought, well, I can only do so much, and there are caps and things, and I don't want to go crazy. So I thought, well, maybe I could connect you with some nice normal doctors I know. So it kind of started just sort of grassroots like that. I'll just connect you with other people who I know would do a good job. But then it really blossomed into a whole thing. And now we're across the whole country in all states, all scopes. We've helped 4,000 nurse practitioners. We crossed the mark recently. So it's been a wild ride. Love it every minute of it, but it's been a quick uptake because no one was really doing it, I think. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Had you worked with nurse practitioners within the community that you were in?
Yes, my first boss at that little tiny strip mall clinic was a nurse practitioner. She was the medical director of the clinic as a nurse practitioner, which was really cool. So there were doctors under her. She was a veteran NP. I love her to death, still stay in touch with her. Taught me like real world medicine, Lisa Covell. And then I sat next to Teresa Aquaviva, who was another veteran nurse practitioner. And I went to Teresa probably 5 times a day with, what would you do with this? Or, they don't have a place to live. How, what's the best resource for this problem? And the two of them really took me under their wing. So I am very indebted truly to nurse practitioners. That's how it played out in my life. Yes.
Good. What about the ability to use them as part of your team? What sort of things are you seeing nurse practitioners with regards to helping physicians within their day, if that's what they're being placed for? What is that looking like that you've heard from your community?
Well, I do see a couple of varieties because when I was working in DC, nurse practitioners are fully independent in DC, so they were seeing patients equally right alongside of me, like totally on their own with no, I mean, we had our collegial, conversations and stuff, but it wasn't like a supervisory type relationship. And actually the clients that I help now, like the 4,000, almost all of them have their own practice. So they actually are working on their own. The doc is more just someone to, be a mentor and a consultant they can call with questions and that sort of thing. So I do think, I know like in hospital systems and some clinic systems, especially in certain states, NPs are more, working under the doctor, like supporting them. But in my life, it hasn't been that way as much. And I think the tide is changing. So I think NPs really know, like, this is their lane, they're trained in basic, whatever it is, primary care, or some of them have different certifications like in mental health, but it's bread and butter mental health. If it's crazy psychosis or something, like I better refer that. That's, beyond my scope. So I think NPs are going to continue to play a major role in fixing the healthcare system, like playing their part, and then physician supervision perhaps of them, or getting referred up to the doc. That's I think where we need to go.
Yeah.
But
sure. And what were the physicians looking for? So you've got a match that a nurse practitioner is looking for a physician mentor. What are the physicians looking for that come into your world that are getting matched to the nurse practitioners?
Yes, the physicians largely are kind of like I was 10 years ago, looking for a little side income, a little extra, side gig is the common term now, I guess. A little way to supplement their income, but while making an impact. Like I know a lot of our doctors, we very closely vet our physicians. We don't just take anybody that wants to do it. So I'm very cautious that their head is in the right, and heart is in the right place. Like they really like teaching. They really want to be that mentor, and they see like the impact. I get feedback a lot from our doctors. Like, well, I feel like I'm making a bigger impact because I'm helping 5 of the nurse practitioners who help their 5 communities. So like my influence is going further. So I think, we really strive for doctors like that feel that way. as you probably know, there are a lot of doctors who do not feel that way and do not like working with nurse practitioners and don't want to do this. And that's fine. But luckily we attract people who enjoy the element of, pouring into providers who need that support. And
Okay,
it is
so
a
yeah, so just to understand, so the nurse practitioners are required to have a physician available or in some capacity, and we're looking for physicians who would like that connection, and they also then get some amount of income from that.
correct. In the United States, it's about half of the states right now, 20, mid 20 some, that require it for nurse practitioners to practice. The other half don't require it at all. Like in DC, it's not required, but some states require it for a time period, like a amount of experience. So in New York, it's only a year. So for 1 year as a nurse practitioner, you need that position, and then you kind of graduate away from it. So it's an ever evolving. We have our own in-house legal team because it's always evolving quite rapidly what all these rules and regs are about it.
Yeah. Fascinating. So now you've got a legal team, you've got a business, you've got this those practitioners are seeking you out. Now you're looking for physicians who are looking for that ability to mentor a nurse practitioner. Fascinating. That would have been a steep learning curve.
It definitely, yes, it's a lot of, it was really an idea in my head, and now it's suddenly, we have 10 employees, 10 full-time contractors. We have, things I never would have imagined managing and running, but I think it's in my DNA. My dad my poor father passed away quite a long time ago, but a lot of people told me, he had a very similar business model. I mean, not with nurse practitioners, but just like playing matchmaker of sorts. So I don't know. It must be in my blood somehow. I don't. I inherited that gene.
Love it. That's so fascinating. And with that, you're still practicing medicine?
I did cut back. I had to cut back to part-time, and then I did cut back fully about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And I work 80 hours a week. So honestly, I'm probably working more hours than I was when I was practicing. But it's a very, 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 we're scaling, we're rapidly growing. So it's yesterday I got here at, I don't know, 7 in the morning, left at 7 p.m. So it can be long days.
Yeah. Is there any teaching component to any of what you're doing?
Well, somewhat. I'm always teaching my staff.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit different. But there's a lot of coaching and training, and I do find actually that skill set is kind of transferable, even to, I have an intern right now, and how to coach her up and get her doing what I need. It does help having a little bit of a background in that. And I think the one for like a broader audience is I do post a new YouTube video weekly on our channel. And that's more, we're trying to give good value, good information, good lesson, like mini little lessons on topics that would appeal to a nurse practitioner entrepreneur primarily. So that keeps me busy, and hopefully people watch them. Well, we can kind of tell people do watch them, and it's nice to, get the feedback that stuff is helping other people kind of figure this whole thing out.
Yeah. What sort of feedback you're getting from the physicians and the nurse practitioners who are engaging in this model?
Well, practitioners are thrilled to death. A lot of them say, I was looking for years for a doctor that would be kind of have my back and help me out and not charge me $1 million a year. And you made this happen. So they can actually do their dream, like what they were hoping to do, which is really gratifying, especially when they're in like a low income area or a rural area where there's no healthcare. Like they are the one. So if, it's hard for them to find a doctor in that kind of situation. So it's nice to connect those people. Our physicians also are I recently did a little mini survey of them, and they're also, because we're attracting the type of people who would like this sort of thing, they love it. They're always like, send me more. I'm happy to help more people. So yeah, I think if, for physicians out there, if you enjoy teaching, you enjoy mentoring, it's a very low key sort of thing. I think a lot of doctors think it's going to be very stressful, and what happens if something goes wrong with the NP's patient, and it's really supervisory and advisory. So your hand is not on the scalpel as they do their procedure. Everyone knows that. So it's a bit less scary than some make it out to be in Facebook groups and such. I would say people are worried they'll be sued to death. Historically, lawsuits are very, very low for collaborating. So much more common for practicing medicine on your own. That's a commonality, but
Yeah. Fascinating. Very, very good. Where do people find you if they're interested to learn more about what you're doing?
Probably the best place would be our website, which is Collaborating Docs. So docs.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn as well, if that's easier. But yeah, any physician interested, happy to talk more about, if this would be something you'd be interested in. And obviously we're happy to help nurse practitioners out there also might be tuning in who need a collaborator.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what about your satisfaction now in your new adventure? So you've come through music, and then into medicine, and then into family practice, and then now into the entrepreneurial world. Tell us about you and your life and balance. What do you think? How's it going?
I am much happier. As much as I did enjoy working in the inner city practicing medicine, I did. That was a great, chapter of my life. However, burnout is real, even despite the things I was saying that I enjoyed. It never ends, right? There's always the pile of paperwork. There's always the inbox of messages. There's always the fax box. It just never ever lets down. It's a never-ending cycle. So I am much happier because now what I do, my day-to-day is so variable, from doing, meeting with nurse practitioners, sort of sales calls, but also then figuring out marketing, and then figuring out payroll, and then figuring out, getting whatever, just all the facets of a business. My footprint is in all of them here. I do have some people helping me, thankfully, but I definitely oversee all aspects of everything right now. So it's been a good learning experience. I think that's like, my brain is always learning.
Yeah.
Might not be medical facts, but now it's
Yeah.
how to do an Excel, blah, 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 new adventures in the business world. So that's good too.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And as people are interested in this, they can reach out to you.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. Thanks for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate your time.
No worries. If you are here and you are a resident, I want to remind you that we have a program called the Smarter Charting Program, which is there to help you as you navigate these changing workplaces, changing work flow, or amount of work that you're doing, the different preceptors you're working for, and their different expectations, patient expectations. Smarter Charting Program is our program that's been running for clinicians, and now we're accepting residents into that as well, because a lot of what you're working through in those years as a resident, we understand as preceptors the types of things that you are dealing with, and we would love to be able to help you. Thank you for being part of the Sustainable Clinical Medicine podcast. If you'd like to learn more or join us to help you get home with today's work done, go to chartingcoach.ca. There you'll find all the information on the Premier Lifetime Access Charting Champions program that is helping physicians get home with today's work done, with all the proven tools, support, and community you need to create time for your life outside of medicine. We would love to see you there. Until next time, thanks for listening.